episode 29 of the Six Scale Scavengers podcast / YouTube feed, the show where we talk about Marvel and Star Wars hot toys. So if you're a returning watcher, listener, welcome back. If this is the first time you've tuned in, hopefully you like what you see and want to come back and subscribe to our YouTube channel and or subscribe to our audio only podcast feed, which you'll also see this. So we're already starting to see some listeners pile into the YouTube live feed. So get right with introductions here. I'm Bryan Fontaine. I am joined, as always, with my good friends TC and Chris Letty. Guys, we're back on the 2-week schedule. I think we're going to try as much as we can to try to record every other Wednesday around 9:30 Eastern time, just so if people do like to tune in to us live, to be able to interact with some of the YouTube comments and stuff, to be able to see what we're displaying on the screen. It's just a good format. I personally like this a lot better. And I mean, Chris, going back almost 30 episodes now, you and I have been having a blast with this for over a year now.
Yeah, it's been a great ride so far. And like we said, the last couple episodes with this new format, I'm really digging it. And I think it bodes well for the format, with the live comments, and we're going to kind of do something a little different this episode and, see how that goes.
Yep. And I think we figured out TC's audio where he's loud and clear this time.
Yes, I'm loud and clear. At least hopefully. Let us know if not.
Well, our viewers will let us know pretty quickly if you're not. I mean, either that or Chris and I are just so old and deaf that you sound good to us. So, all right, guys. So we are back. TC, I know you're coming off a little mini vacation, and hopefully that went well. It's a good, it's good to get away just as the summer's wrapping up. I know you're probably not experiencing it in the deep south quite yet, but we're starting to really get close to that fall weather. It's kind of like socially acceptable now that there's like pumpkin spice, like everything out. So, I mean, it's getting a little bit cooler. Fall's coming.
Hey,
good times.
I had a great time. And like I went to Hilton Head, went to the beach, relaxed for a few days, and kind of got to reset and just enjoy some good weather, some good food, and some time with my wife. And we just had a blast. It was kind of the end of summer mini vacation. So, just a reset to go forward. So I really enjoyed it, but glad to be back.
Good stuff.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Was there any pumpkin spice crab legs down there?
No, they didn't. Not that. Is that something up north that you guys do?
God, I hope not, Chris.
I'm just messing with you.
No pumpkin spice crab legs, but I had a lot of crab legs, a lot of snow crab, and kind of mastered the art of cracking the legs and taking out the meat without breaking any of it. It's much sweeter when you don't mess up that. So it was a good time.
Yeah, up here it's Maine lobsters, and it's probably sacrilegious to say this, but I'm not really a fan. Most people up here would argue it's just a good excuse to have a lot of butter.
Come on, man.
Yeah, we all can't be into everything here. So
no, it's all right.
Guys, a lot happened in the last 2 weeks, and I know we kind of skirted around it last time with the D23 news, and our good friends over at Marvel Studios News, they do it better than anybody. I mean, we focus more on Marvel and Star Wars. I know there was a lot of great stuff. Don't want to steal any thunder of the Rogue One 6th guys. They're actually going to start having PJ the Paradox Nerd is going to start joining them as well. Really excited to get his take. I mean, there's people that love Star Wars. He loves the Star Wars. So a lot of great stuff coming up with the Mandalorian. We don't want to steal any of their thunder. We got a little bit more movie news confirmed, Black Panther 2. But I got the image up on the screen here, guys. This was some of the things that I really dug a lot, was these Disney Plus series that we didn't know anything about yet, Chris. We got Miss Marvel, She-Hulk, and the one I'm kind of most interested in is this. I don't know much about Moon Knight, but I'm hearing a lot of good things about, hearing Sean and Paul talk about some of the origins of this character. and just to see what some of the potential is. It's making me it's helping my coping mechanisms, guys, to not having Captain America and Iron Man and Black Widow still part of the MCU
and Spider-Man.
Well, you know what? Let's.
Hey, that's not over.
That's not in the agenda. That's not in the agenda. We'll just pretend like la 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 la. That's not happening.
No, but it's good. It's I like it a lot. I mean, the first few phases they laid the groundwork so that the MCU they can expand. Marvel Studios can expand out to these secondary characters that obviously didn't get much any screen time in the first few phases. So it's nice to go deeper into the Marvel universe. So I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, for sure. This this lineup right here, Moon Knight, Miss Marvel, She-Hulk. I mean, this just shows that Marvel, can do basically anything. The book is wide open. These characters are all three are so different. They all add quite a bit of diversity in the Marvel universe. Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan, relatively new character. She idolizes Captain Marvel, and
so do I. So
yeah, I know. We all.
You're Mr. Marvel.
Yeah. Oh man, so it's she's a great option for a miniseries here, and then She-Hulk. That is just. I'm really interested to see how they pull that off. Her legal side, being a lawyer, and then getting these powers, if they're going to show how that happens, and is the Hulk going to be involved, Bruce Banner to some degree? That'll be fun. And then Moon Knight, I've always loved Moon Knight. His origin has kind of changed over the years, and the guys at Marvel Studios News, they discussed it on this episode 138, the different iterations of Moon Knight. But Mark Spector and his other personalities, it's a perfect format, having him in a TV show where you can flesh out all those nuances with the character and stuff. So I'm excited.
A lot of figure possibilities with these guys, with these movies and short series. So I'm looking forward to it, and it's going to be quite the spectacle. Just waiting at least one more year, right? Everything debuts 2020.
Yeah.
Yep.
The Disney Plus series.
So I mean, hopefully everybody. I think Steve talked about it on the recent Assemble, but I hope people had the opportunity to kind of get in on that deal. I mean, Disney Plus was already going to be a ridiculous value on a monthly basis anyways. It was going to be like $6.99. But I think if you had signed up for a free D23 account, you could get it for like under $4 per month. Now, you did have to pay 3 years in advance, which I was like, well, that's a screaming deal. And I looked at it. I was like, well, that's like $141 up front. But I'll thank myself later in 3 years when I'm not having to pay that monthly fee. But it's going to be great. I'm really looking forward to this. And obviously, we'll save the Star Wars news for the Rogue One 6th guys. I know they're going to be recording pretty soon here. Like I said, PJ joining them for that, and hopefully that's something on a go forward basis, because PJ is just a great member of the community. All right, guys. So yeah, go ahead, Chris.
No, I was just gonna say, it doesn't mean we're not excited about the Star Wars content.
The Mandalorian looks freaking incredible.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
I mean, we got more news about Cassian Andor and K2SO,
Kenobi, and
that was the thing that I was like. I think I posted some meme or something in our private Facebook group about that, and it was like Darth Vader, keep refreshing F5 to see if they're going to announce the Kenobi thing. I honestly didn't know if they were going to. I think the early news we know about it is it's set about 8 years after Revenge of the Sith. So, I mean, my little early fan speculation is I think we're going to see an 8-year-old Luke Skywalker at some point, which is going to be kind of neat. Somebody other than Mark Hamill playing Luke Skywalker on the small screen. But yeah, good stuff. Well, again, like I said, we'll leave that all to the professionals. We'll stick to Marvel here. All right, guys. So I'll be a good host this time. We'll talk about our agenda, what people can expect for this episode. So our feature figure review that we're going to talk about is the new Hot Toys War Machine Mark IV MMS 499 D26 for diecast 26. Have it in hand, and I'm going to try not to drop it.
And one sweet figure.
It so is. I know. I'm sure our buddy Lotus is probably cringing the fact that I didn't actually use white cotton gloves to pick it up, but I do have them right in front of me here. So quick shout out to him. He did a great. He doesn't do much content these days, but on his YouTube channel, he did an unboxing of all the little Iron Man replica boxes, the magnets there. So go check that out. He shared it in our group, and I'm pretty sure you can find that on YouTube as well. We're going to cover there's some news. There's some figure news to talk about, guys. And for our episode topic, we're going to talk about some tactics and stuff that we do about displaying figures. I'm going to display a couple of pictures from my collection. I took some rather quick amateurish photographs tonight. I know our buddy Roy is probably going to cringe when he sees him, but I mean, Roy's the guy that takes the three of our photographs every time we record an episode and makes it look very good. So he did an awesome job making the War Machine Mark IV look better than I could have under my wildest dreams. So that's what we're looking at this episode, guys.
Lots of stuff to talk about. Let's delve right in.
All right, let me get this going here. All right, so got some good news here. And first off, guys, let's talk about this. This dropped a little bit after our last episode dropped. And
this is the homemade suit Spider-Man, by the way, for those just listening on the podcast.
Thank you, TC. I'll get in the hang of this. I'm juggling like three things on two monitors now. You and I were joking. I really could use a third monitor. So we've got Hot Toys MMS 552, which is a homemade Spider-Man from the Far From Home, which technically it's a reissue of the suit from Homecoming. Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty sure this showed up in the sequence with Mysterio in that factory building there where he was kind of hallucinating or whatnot because of the drones. So it was interesting that they were able to kind of include all of the Spider-Man suits in the MCU up to that point. I don't know if they purposely did it to get us this reissued figure here, but I mean, here it is. It's not quite a reissue because there's some different accessories and whatnot here. There we go. All right. So a couple of things that struck me, guys, is, number one, I'm super happy that people get a chance to get this figure because this is one of those ones on the secondary market that was going for a lot. I think we talked about, guys, what was it? A couple episodes ago, we found one of these that was listed for like $900.
Yes,
$999.99.
I think that one.
Yeah,
I think that one's dropped to last I looked a couple weeks ago to like $650 or something, which is still a little high. So I see what happens with that listing now as things kind of go down here. But the drone, that looks really cool. The base is different. I think a lot of the spider webs and stuff are the same. The eyes, the hands. The one change that I noticed, and I'd have to get out my figure and the accessories that I've got tucked away here, is people will be able to see this on the video stream here, but the box I'm kind of hovering over here, it looks like the two web shooters where it's not quite shot all the way out of his web shooters. That looks new to me. TCU have this figure as well, right?
I do.
Is that new or is that okay? Good. All right, that's what I thought.
Yeah, that's new. Obviously, the drone's new, base is new, but as far as the figure itself, I've looked at it up and down. It looks exactly the same. I don't see any differences with the shoes, with the socks, the mask, it all looks exactly the same. And that's fine because it doesn't need to change.
I mean, Chris, I know we've got Mysterio, and this is a tease. I don't know if it's an illusion or not, or if this is a precursor. Are we actually going to get this figure? I mean, I'm not holding my breath. I mean, this shows there's at least a prototype of him somewhere, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. It is encouraging that they went to the length to put that together. I think that was only in one photo, right? I don't think it's in any of the other images, but
I think there may have been like one other one, but pretty much it's the same pose.
Yeah. So, man, this figure is one that I really wanted, and one figure that I really regretted not buying. I had the chance early last year to get one for like $190 shipped and used, and I was like, I can find it. Nope. Because like right after that, we had Infinity War, and then all hell broke loose, and that was it. And so when I saw him in the movie, the quick scene, everything was racing in my head. I'm like, this is their chance. They can do it. They can bring this figure back. And I think they did a great job with the package that they put together. No head sculpt, but that's fine. I've got plenty of Tom Holland head sculpts, and that drone base, I mean, that thing is, the detail, at least in that prototype, is insane. I mean, it's just got everything, every little speck on there. So I can't wait to get this figure. I think it's just a good alternative look to a Spider-Man lineup. Everybody that's got multiple Spider-Mans, I mean, it just gives that different appearance. So
two things with this. I guess first, Brian, this is a question for you. Was this suit in the PS4 game as well?
Yeah, so they have loaded like all of the, well, I should say that all the MCU suits are in the PS4 video game, which I have been playing ridiculously a lot lately. I love it. I don't know why I waited so long to start it. So all of those are there. So this is a suit you can unlock. It takes you like a bajillion skill points and stuff to get this one in particular. But I mean, there's like the Scarlet Spider and all that other stuff. They also have a lot of like the original trilogy, Sam Raimi stuff. That suit's there. Not the black suit one from Spider-Man 3. Also don't think they've done anything from Amazing Spider-Man 1 or 2. But I mean, pretty much a lot of that other stuff is there. So, you can see that on the video game here. So,
and then, okay, cool. And then number two is I just want to say I'm glad this came out, because I remember when Homecoming came out and they released the tech suit alongside this homemade suit. And I know a lot of people picked the tech suit, thinking before the movie it would be the final suit, but also just the aesthetics of it. How it's more of a classic suit. And they kind of skipped over this one. And by the time all of a sudden it just spiked with the hype of Infinity War and then obviously Endgame. And it can be tough. It can be tough to say, oh, I want to go in for this, when it's really, it's not the classic suit. It's not the one that everyone seems to want at the time. So it kind of under the shuffle. I guess it kind of got swept under the rug, and then all of a sudden it spiked, and then you're left just having to pay, $400 or $500 for it on eBay, and there's really nowhere to go elsewhere for it unless you want to pay the $1,000 on that website. I'm glad it came out. I'm glad that people are getting a chance, and I'm actually going to get it as well, even though I have one, because I like having it branded Far From Home, and I like the base and the package. Like Chris said, that the complete package, the total offering that it is it's quite nice.
I mean, price wise, $267. Actually, guys, one other thing, TC, I want to ask you and Chris about this. Now, I don't know this firsthand because I'm deciding to pass on this one because I already have the Homecoming one, and I don't need the base, or I don't need the drone or the base because I wouldn't display them. So it's a pass for me. I noticed some funky stuff going on here, and I thought initially it was just going to be Sideshow just needed to update, their website. I know initially when the Mark 85 came out, that Iron Man, that they didn't make payment plans available, and then when they did, it was like immediate payment plans, and you couldn't get the figure for a year or two. This one, they don't seem to have updated anything. It looks like there's no non-refundable deposit, but you can't do a payment plan. So it's $267 when this thing eventually releases. It's just, guys, even TC, ever since you've joined the podcast officially here, the amount of things that Sideshow has tried as like these little mini pilots of, like, I think we've seen no non-refundable deposit. Now we've seen no payment plan available. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they're just trying to find the sweet spot of how they can get people to buy figures on their site. It seems a little crazy. I know it, for me, if I really wanted it, I could budget. I know TCU talked about some different strategies and stuff that you would employ to, make sure you're setting that money aside in your budget. So when it did come time to get it, you'd have it there. But I think for most collectors, I think having that payment plan on Sideshow is really the thing that differentiates them over any other retailers.
Yeah, it really is. Like you said, they're trying to run these pilots. This one kind of seems the opposite. It's like, can we not include the payment plan and see how many people leave? So, or do they even need to include it? I think they might be testing out on this one as just to see if they can stay competitive, I guess. I don't know. You wouldn't even, I guess they don't want to house so many figures for so long. I guess that's what it is. They're trying to move product as much as they can. That would be my guess. And payment plans don't help that. Case in point, War Machine Mark IV, my payment plan doesn't even start till late December. So this seems to be like like you said, it's pilot in reverse. So
yeah, it's interesting you bring up that point, because people have the option of pushing back on a payment, delaying a payment, and it just means that Sideshow has to hold on to that stock
and guarantee your order.
Yeah. So it would be interesting to know, like, kind of what their warehouse situation is, and how they handle those situations. It is kind of strange, especially the NRD, or the no NRD, was what sold me on this one, as far as setting up a pre-order. But also, it was just weird there's no payment plans, and then they include the price of the shipping on that when you go to checkout. So I don't know. It seems like these Spider-Man figures have kind of been the guinea pigs for Sideshow. I don't know if any of this stuff has been going on with some of the Star Wars figures or any other figures from other lines from Hot Toys, but
well, these are safe figures to do that. If you're going to do it on something, Iron Man, Spider-Man, you can run your pilots on those, and you're not going to get stuck with stock. So I think that's why they're doing this kind of thing. I think for me, the NRD, not having an NRD outweighs the payment plan, because at the end of the day, you can always budget on your own. At least that's how I feel. But it's hard to envision what things are going to look like 12 to 15 months financially. It might come to the point where you're not collecting as actively as you used to be, and then you're out $25-$30. It's just a nuisance and an annoyance. And so I'm glad that they're starting to get rid of them with some of these Spider-Man figures. It's definitely kept me from purchasing from them, or kept me purchasing from them. So I like what they're doing.
Yep. We'll just continue to see how it goes.
All right, guys, let's move on to the next figure to talk about. And those that can see this on the screen is the D23 exclusive Captain America from Avengers Endgame, MMS 526, a special edition that was only available at the D23 Expo as an exclusive. $299, I think was the retail price, or maybe it was like $299, 97 or 99, whatever it is. I mean, I'm sure you still have to pay like California sales tax on that afterwards, but I mean, this was a surprise, and it's basically the figure we're going to get later next year. It's got all the accessories. I think more than anything, I was surprised that they had this many available as that they could. I don't know what the run of this was. I do know, guys, that the secondary market for this, $800, $900, $1,000 for a $300 figure that we're going to get anyways, and it's got a lot of reissued accessories. There's a lot of different ways I want to go with this, but I will say before, Chris, I throw it over to you first. I know our friend PJ the Paradox Nerd has heard from, I don't necessarily think a source or whatnot, but it looks like this figure and potentially future figures like this could be available at the Disney parks. So that also, presents an issue for those of us that don't live near a Disney park. I mean, it's quite a haul for me to go to Orlando. Certainly would be a haul to go to Disneyland. And I think one of the things I've always loved about Hot Toys, Chris, is the fact that even if you got exclusive, you still had the chance to get it. This is really tearing at my completist mentality here, because as much as I'd like this figure, I love Captain America. I've got all of the Captain Americas they've released to date. This is like the one that I think is going to break me. I cannot pay 3 times, 4 times what this is going to go for a figure that I already have on pre-order. It's got a little sticker on the box and some extra accessories,
of which you don't really care about. So.
And exactly. So I mean, like, I don't know. I'm having not necessarily a crisis of conscience here, but I'm like, is it really? I feel like it's not going to get to the point where it is like if you collect, say, the Hasbro exclusives like the Black Series or Marvel Legends or Funko Pops, where they have chases, or San Diego Comic-Con exclusives only. It's just like I thought Hot Toys was going to be the one that wouldn't go down that path, and this just proves me wrong.
Well, it's not going to happen if Sideshow's the main distributor to the United States and Europe, because everything's still going to flow through them. 90 figures out of 100, something like that. This kind of thing, to me, would happen more if Sideshow was out of the game, because then you have Hot Toys distributing to the parks. Hot Toys would have then likely their own warehouse stateside. Then they could start doing things like this. But I think as long as Sideshow's around, this isn't going to happen as much. But man, don't discount the mouse ears, man. Those are powerful. That's contributing to that $800 tag, at least a little bit.
Chris? Got nothing.
Oh, can you guys not hear me?
I can hear you. I don't know if Chris is if Chris is frozen here or just got that really smug look on his face.
I think he froze.
I'm pretty sure he froze. So
all right, we'll have to bring him back in. But like I was saying, Brian, I can understand where you're coming from. This is a steep price for a figure that really is a stripped down version of the Captain America from Endgame, a regular release. But man, these exclusives, man, the mouse ears, the power of the mouse ears is real. So
yeah, I'm sure I'll be talking to you guys and all of our listeners for quite a while on what to do there. It's not something.
Just wait.
That is probably the best thing we could do at this point. It is for myself is to wait and see what happens, because if they do, let's just say hypothetically here, TC, that they do make it available at the Disney parks, and that there's going to be annual pass holders and scalpers and stuff that are going to scoop up that inventory, because it is a character like Captain America. It's not like it's somebody that wouldn't be as popular, like say Groot or something like that. So I just,
and they could stock that almost unlimited. They could just keep stocking it if they bring it to the parks. It's not an expo convention at that point, but it's essentially the same figure. It's just there's no run count on these, so nothing's preventing Hot Toys from just printing more. And they're going to have the factory open anyway for the endgame regular release. So I wouldn't rush to buy this one if you don't have to. Just give it a little wait.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good advice there. But I mean, it is exciting. I think I was more excited than anything the fact that the figure's out and available already.
Oh yeah,
there's been some chatter and stuff on our Facebook group that maybe there's some improvements and stuff that could be made. We as hot toy collectors are usually overly critical about things, and I think sometimes having it in hand, you can kind of form your own opinion. I am also of the opinion of, like, if it's my favorite character, I'm gonna try to find reasons to like it as much as possible, unless it's just a huge lemon. But from what I've seen, it's still something that I intend to get at this point.
Nice.
All right, so let's go to the other bit of news as we wait for Chris to kind of rejoin us here. So TC, this isn't really new news, but it is news that it's finally available on Sideshow. We've got the Hot Toys Sith Trooper released yesterday. They made it available. I think a lot of different retailers, the different variations of this, Hot Toys, the Black Series version, I want to say there was maybe something else. I know it's now the merchandise for the Sith Trooper is actually now available in the Disney stores as well. So there was something about the 9/3 date, whether it was a street date or whatnot, but we finally got the look at this. And I mean, going back to it, it's definitely something that is unique enough that, although I'm very limited in collecting Star Wars, like, I think on the surface, it looks like something that, it would look really great in my collection. I kind of want to see what they do, in the film first before I get overly excited about it at this point. But I don't know. I'm actually kind of glad for fans that didn't get the opportunity to pick this up at SDCC. I know Matt was able to pick up one for himself and a few others and whatnot. So, it definitely is something that, I mean, I'm glad now that it's going to be available and people can plan for it. And TC, I do think it had a pretty quick turnaround. It wasn't like October to December this year.
I believe so. Chris, I need you to verify that. It does, like you said, Brian, it looks pretty good. I think this is one of those figures where, if you have a bunch of other troopers, this is a nice variation. For me, I would need almost like an army to really want this one. But I mean, the design's cool. It takes pieces from, it seems like the mask is a little bit first order stormtrooper. The elbow pads have a little death trooper into them. They take designs from a bunch of different ones. It looks good. And I think the red's pretty striking, but I don't know. It doesn't really, it's not as exciting as, say, like the Leia and Wicket release, but it's nice to see.
Yeah, for me, it's one of those figures that add to a display. It's not really, I don't know. It being red, it could definitely be a focal point of one shelf with other troopers or alongside Kylo or, who knows, maybe even the Emperor. But it's a great figure, a great looking figure. I know Matt's pretty happy with his. But I think October to December is a release, so it's pretty quick to be getting to Sideshow.
I think people are just hoping that this is not a Captain Phasma type problem where it's hyped up at the pre-movie and then all of a sudden it's a flop in the movie. So I think people are waiting and seeing kind of how it plays out in the movie, and they're just hoping that it's an important character.
Yeah, and this is where it starts to be where I struggle as a fan, because I have a tendency to kind of, maybe read ahead or try to spoil things for myself. There's websites out there
Classic.
like making Star Wars and stuff. And, I would just say, if you're the type of fan that would like to know some of that stuff in advance, there's things that you can go do and go find that out. So, all right, just guys, the other bit of news we have at this point, I thought we'd have a little bit more, but I mean, we've still found a about 30 minutes to talk about 3 figures. Chris, it does look like we're going to get Shuri. The shipping and final payments are going through. I think Hidalgo PD in our group was the first person to post that. You also confirmed that you're going to be getting yours soon. I've seen some decent reviews out there. I know PJ, the Products Nerds, got his out there. And, you know, everything I'm hearing about this figure, Chris, is the face sculpt is just amazing.
Yeah, I'm eagerly anticipating getting it in hand and seeing it for myself. But, you know, it's a visually stunning figure, in my opinion. Does it, you know, size up to the other figures properly? You know, that's maybe not 100% accurate, but great figure. Looking forward to it.
All right, guys, let's shift gears and get away from news. And we're going to talk about our collection update. And last episode out, we didn't really have a whole lot to share. It was, I guess, mundane might not be the right word, but I think this one's a little bit more interesting. So let's change things up. Chris, I'll go with you first this time.
All right. I got a few things. Like we talked about, I did pre-order the homemade suit Spidey. That no NRD was the kicker for me. I've kind of been holding off on pre-orders on new figures, and because of that reason, because of the NRDs. But so I got that one. Going with third party, I got my final invoice notice for Toys Era Nightmare / Nightcrawler from TNS Figures. And hopefully, I mean, that's like 3 months early, and it'll be interesting to see. The window for the final payment is through the middle of this month. So I don't expect it to ship anytime soon, but maybe at least by the end of the month I'll get it. Looking forward to that one. And then you know, my Shuri payment hit today, and hopefully it'll be shipped out tomorrow. So probably getting all the way over here to New Hampshire. You know, we're probably looking at next, you know, Wednesday or Thursday. And I don't know, we might, you know, that might be our next feature figure review. I'm, you know, still up in the air. And I don't know, we figured add in some non-6 scale stuff. I've been picking up a few things here and there. My Ahsoka Tano focus / sickness is it's ever growing, and I know this is like something that's totally foreign to Hot Toys collectors, but in the Star Wars collecting community, one thing that a lot of collectors do is they look for foreign variation carded figures, you know, different text, different languages on the packaging, different style packaging. So I love that stuff. So I've been picking up some foreign carded Ahsoka stuff, you know, really, really affordable, cheap stuff. And then I don't know, I was watching Solo the other night, and I really love that movie. Every time I watch that movie, I love it more and more. And classic style, I might have been sipping on something and might have been perusing the Amazon Prime deals, and might have ordered a few Solo 3 3/4 inch figures. They're let's see, they're up there.
I don't have Justin ready to go.
I know. I had to sneak that in there.
I should have looked at your notes for the show and figured I'm gonna need it to get queued up. Man. I used it a couple episodes ago.
I know.
It's one of those like rare occurrence things. I can't bring it out like every episode.
Oh man. And then I don't know, GameStop had some deals and might have gotten some other figures. And I also just yesterday managed to unexpectedly snag some Art of books. It's not really something I collect. I do like picking up those books every now and then, but I walked into a local comic shop, and the owner, I was looking at one of the books. I was like, oh, I've never seen this in person. And he's like, I'll give you the whole stack for 30. And I was like, okay. It was The Art of the Clone Wars book, hardcover. And
Jealous.
Yeah.
So you didn't haggle down?
Well,
that thing's going for, I looked it up on eBay. It's going for like $75-$80, just that book alone.
Oh man. So, and that's the one that's the one I really wanted. And then I got the Art of Iron Man book. And then also the book that was put together around the time of Solo. And it's Han Solo. And I think Sideshow had it.
Sideshow helped put it together. Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, so I mean, $30 for those 3 books. That's my kind of deal.
That's a scavenger kind of deal right there.
What's the retail on those things?
Well, the retail for the Clone Wars book was $49.99, and what are the Art of books? The Marvel ones
50.
Go for?
Those go for
50, and then the other one was right around 50 also. I think Sideshow's marked it down, but yeah. So
all right. No, there's no any way you slice that, you got a good deal.
So anyway, yeah. So those are some of my pickups, just mixing things up. I do collect other things, and that's why I've been kind of holding off on some of these pre-orders, and I don't know.
Good stuff, Chris. All right, TC, what do you got?
Well, Chris reminded me that I did pre-order the homemade suit. I forgot to include that in the notes, but homemade suit I pre-ordered, no NRD like Chris said, and I love that design. And I also pre-ordered the Wasp. So I've been kind of going back and forth. Am I going to go for the Ant-Man Wasp duo? I've got the Wasp now on order, and I decided to get it because I can put it in with the Endgame collection, and I think it'll fit really well there. So I decided to do that, and I'm deciding to sell a few figures, and I started with my Jedi Patrol Stormtrooper from Rogue One, the TK 14057 version. It's the one with the orange pauldron. That's a great figure. It's just, as I continue to get more Marvel figures, it's harder for me to want to keep, even the Rogue One ones, because I just don't have, I know I'm not going to be going hard into Star Wars, so they kind of get outnumbered, and it kind of, I guess we're going to talk about it later, I kind of like the way, more and more figures of the same franchise look together rather than mixing them. And so selling that figure, and I'm also selling my Han Solo from The Force Awakens, put that on 1/6 Republic buy sell trade. And I have sold the Jedi Patrol Trooper, haven't sold the Han Solo yet. And I decided to actually also cancel Spider-Punk. So I was looking on Sideshow, and there are 9 Spider-Man figures up for pre-order or in stock. Wow. So the Iron Spider's in stock. There's a quarter scale homemade suit, the tech suit, and then I believe there are 7 other ones that are up for pre-order. Doing the math, I had to take one out, and that was the one that I felt I could live without. And so I decided to get rid of that one, especially considering Scarlet Spider's due to arrive within the next month or two, and the advanced suit is also due to arrive in the next month or two for me. I had that on payment plan, so that had to go, but I feel I'm okay with that. I toss out the $25 NRD. There goes $25, but I felt it was needed, and Stan Lee's also coming, so I had to give up something. So, and that's all I have.
TC, I know that feeling all too well.
Dude, you don't even. I've been collecting a while. You don't even want to know how many of those suckers I've eaten. It's just, it's not good. Yeah. You average like 3-4 a year for like the last 4 years. It's bad.
You could add a figure for all
maybe
that.
Even more.
Oh, good stuff. So, all right, I'll go quickly through mine. So, obviously, in hand, I've got the War Machine Mark IV, the MMS 499 D26, and we'll be talking about that shortly. That was, I mean, any Hot Toy new one you get, that was my first new one in a while. Actually, first one from Sideshow in quite a while. And there's just always that experience of unboxing that. So, really thrilled to get that. So kind of just going through, and I thought that was going to be all I was going to do. But as I started playing the Spider-Man PS4 game more, and I'll talk about it. Actually, I'll tell the story first. So as I'm playing the game more, and I'm like, I don't really want to regret not getting any of the figures from the game, because I know I've said previously, all right, it's just MCU or bust, but I can't believe how good the game is and just the story and whatnot. So I'm like, all right, maybe I got to reconsider this. And so I was going around Instagram, and again, I feel like PJ, I've talked to you about, I've probably mentioned you like 10 times already. So what's one more time? And he'll sometimes run figure raffles for figures that he has that he's looking to sell. It's a good, I don't think we've ever talked about it as a style of selling. Basically, you sell like a lottery slot, and depending on the number, what you ever want to sell the figure for, you figure out how many slots you want to sell, and you collect the money for those, and then they do like a random drawing. So anyways, I saw he was selling his Scarlet Spider, and it's been on waitlist. I had it on waitlist. I canceled it, and then I was like, seeing some of the reviews, I'm like, I don't want to miss this figure because it looks really good. So I actually reached out to him and I asked him, I was like, hey, you know, are you selling it? He goes, oh man, he goes, if I knew you were interested, I just would have sold it to you instead of doing the raffle. So I'm looking at it, and he's got, I think he had 24 or 26 spots he was selling, and he had like 5 or 6 left. So I'm looking at it, I'm like, well, all right, you know, $20 is a lot, but I'm like, okay, this feels like a scratch ticket. I'm like, all right, I'll take number 6. What the heck? You know, if I lose, you know, I'm helping you sell your figure, and somebody's going to get a good deal. So throw him the $20. Ended up, he finished filling that. So he ran the lottery later that night. He had filled it. He entered all of the names and stuff into a random generator. And then, so I picked number 6, and then he ran his thing, and he ran another random random number generator to find out how many rolls he was going to do. So I picked the number 6. He picked number 7 as the number of times he's going to roll, which 7 happens to be my lucky number. And I had a 5% chance of winning the figure with just one entry. So he rolls it 7 times and ends up on me. And I'm like, dude, what the heck? Because I was going back and forth with him, and I was like, oh, dude, if I win, this is going to be sick. And he goes, dude, no way, you won. So I was like, man, he made out like a bandit selling it for what he did. I mean, he made out well for himself, but I certainly made out well for myself. So for $20 to get Scarlet Spider, I mean, that's I never have luck like that. So
yeah, that just takes away your last however many lost NRDs.
Totally. Yeah, it's kind of like that karma there. So coming back, so I do have it in hand. Chris, you were talking about maybe Shuri might be the next one we review. Early take on Scarlet Spider is, I think it's the best Spider-Man in my collection. It's that good. It looks amazing. It looks amazing. As our friend Robert would say, I'm really digging that figure.
So what's the material? The material in your opinion, the pant material, because it doesn't seem like it's like it looks like a spandex kind of thing.
So I think Allison's talked about it before. It's kind of like a Spandora, but it's got a little bit more. It's got a little bit more texture and thickness to it. So I haven't really done a whole lot of articulation with it, but I think it would hold up. I still think you have to be careful and maybe stretch it around the joints as you do it. But man, I'm just excited about that. So I got that figure, and I was like, all right, well, I love the game. I love the advanced suit look in the game. I thought like the white spider look was just going to be but it just really pops in the game. And it's actually one of my favorite suits, and it's like one of the one you wear for most of it. So I reordered my pre-order for that one. And, I've been known to do that before, but I definitely, based on how I feel about that video game, that one will not be going away. What else did I do? So again, just kind of looking at my collection and looking to see, and this will be the topic we talk about a little bit about what figures look well or display well with others. I decided to part with my Guardians of the Galaxy 1 rocket. Now I have the rocket from Infinity War, which also doubles as the figure that was available for Guardians of the Galaxy 2. And it was just the fact that I love Rocket as a character, but he was the oddball character that it just, no matter where I had him, it just didn't fit. And he was also small enough that he needed the stand. So it just made it even more difficult to display. So I ended up selling that to Steven and our private Facebook group. So hopefully he's going to get that soon. I gave like a scream and scavenger deal on that one. So he scooped up and got a great deal on that. And then finally, Chris, I guess just to kind of go off the reservation just a little bit. And you actually pinged me on this on Instagram. I think it was maybe Fantatrax that showed the Star Wars Legion game. They had an expansion for Shore Troopers. So pick that up on Amazon. It's about 5 unpainted Shore Troopers. I haven't actually opened it yet because I have 0 painting skills. So I know our buddy Zach at Collecting Weekly is already like, dude, if you need some help, let me know. I'll paint one. But I'm like, well, 1 turns into 5 pretty quick. And I'm like, I feel like I'd have to compensate him for it. So I'm like, I'm not sure I'm really ready to go that route. So for right now, it's in the box. And yeah, I mean, guys, that's a pretty decent collection update here.
It's a healthy one.
Yes,
Very healthy.
Making up for the last 1 or 2.
I still can't believe that the contest win there for the Scarlet Spider.
Dude, you've got that. Then you got that Mark 46 on BBTS.
Well, I know. Yeah, Kunji Club is saying you're the luckiest 6-scale collector out there.
He makes his own luck. He entered the contest. Yes. He looked on Big Bad Toy Store.
Yeah.
Right place, right time.
Yep. I forgot all about that story too. But yeah, so I mean, it just shows. I think if anything, just be a scavenger. I mean, you leave no stone unturned. Mm-hmm. We all don't have infinite budgets. We can't all buy every figure. Like you said, sometimes you got to kind of create your own luck. I would also fully recommend too. I would not just go, as much as I'd love to help PJ sell all of his figures. I think you got to, just like if you were to decide to play the lottery, do it responsibly. There's a few people in his contest that bought like 3 or 4 entries. Mm-hmm. And I mean, how would you feel if on the opposite, as much as I'm elated that I had a 5% chance of winning and did, if you had like a 20% chance at winning and you didn't, that stings a little bit.
Yeah, that's an area of gambling, with the collection money that, like you said, you got to be careful with it. That's a big thing in all of collecting right now, especially with the Facebook groups and different things is these waffles or raffles or however you want to put it, these battles. Some of them are not.
What's a waffle?
I don't know.
They do it for Funko Pop. The same thing, like a really rare figure, and it, same thing. You put in a little bit to potentially get a big reward, and it's just one way to kind of guarantee you're going to sell it for a certain amount, and you get a lot of different people. It's like another. It's not necessarily like eBay, where you're trying to bump it up to a certain point. It's like you're setting the bar at your high point, and then selling enough entries up to that point to, make sure you're going to get what your asking price is, and then somebody could get in and, get lucky and win on a 1% chance, 5% chance or something like that.
It's crazy.
Yeah. It's fun to do every once in a while, but not something I would try to build my collection on.
No, absolutely not. So yeah, that could be a topic for another day. Speaking of a topic for another day, guys, let's get into our topic. And one thing that the 3 of us are asked often in our Facebook group and on the YouTube channel and stuff that gets mentioned on the assembles that Steve runs is like, how do we display our figures? I know we've talked about it in the past, like TC right now, you're kind of doing the open air approach on your shelf. You can kind of see it just over your head there where you've got some of your figures displayed. Some people can see behind me here, one of my DTOFs, where it looks like how I display. Chris, all yours are in boxes behind you. I know you're in the process of not only building a collection room, but a whole house around your collection room.
That's right.
So, that's only to be a matter of time before you get setting up, and you're going to have like a year and a half of seeing what everybody else does before you decide really what you want to do. I would almost recommend going like a custom case. I would love to be able to do that for my little L-shaped room that I podcast from and collect in. But let's kind of pat that around, because there's different things. I've tried different methods. I've still always had my Hot Toys behind a DTOF, behind glass, but I have shifted to see I've done by character focus. I've had a whole DTOF of Captain America before. I've had a whole DTOF of Iron Man. And as I'm going to display here briefly, I'm going to show how I've almost taken a page from the book that you just shared, TC, is by going by like movie. And I really kind of like the way that it looks. Of course, then I always think about, oh, maybe I should change it up.
Yeah. I've always liked especially how Marvel figures look together. So I know a lot of people say Hot Toys deserve their space, they deserve to be showcased, and they do. But I also like, like the end of the Endgame scene when all the characters are lined up in the big battle. I kind of like that option on your shelf, that way to showcase them. And also when you have, you only have so much space, I like kind of packing them in like they're kind of like getting ready for battle or just all together, and then it's kind of like the sum of the parts is greater than the individual pieces themselves. So I do like the ensemble approach, so to speak. I do like to pair figures by movie, and really the only line that I have enough figures of to do that would be the Infinity War line, because I've got the Iron Spider, Iron Man, I've got Captain America. I've actually got 2 of each of those. I have Thor, and I'm getting the War Machine, Bucky, and I have Doctor Strange. So if you can do it by movie, I think that's an awesome look, if you have enough figures to do it. If you have like 1-2 figures per movie and they're from the same era, like I have a bunch of my originals on the top shelf and also some exclusives up there. I like pairing those together because I feel, those are the OGs, those are the originals. I think that's a good theme. I like the thought of potentially pairing future Spider-Man figures together. I think that's pretty cool. So I kind of like to mix it up. I know, Bryan, you like to group them by character, and that's awesome. I just like the way all the characters mix in Marvel, whether it's from the MCU or video game or anything, Marvel television. I think really kind of all mixed together gives you that kind of that epic look. So.
Yeah, I think I do really enjoy seeing those scenes that people have set up in their displays with all the characters kind of in battle poses, getting ready to fight. Especially, the teams like Guardians or, yeah, I've seen some people have like the full Age of Ultron lineup, and it just like with all those different characters, the different colors and their suits, and then you've got the villain too, and you can just, I don't know, it just looks pretty sweet. And but also these figures are so well made that they do stand on their own. Yes. And yeah, you see people's collections where they have, 1 or 2 on each shelf, the DTOF, and the way they're lighted, and it just really showcases those figures, and to the level of quality that they are, and so
especially with some of those, so like your Doctor Stranges, your Thor, the ones that have capes and stuff. It is, I can see why people would definitely like to showcase those individually, because you can kind of have them spread out, and then they don't block figures behind them with the cape or the cloak and that kind of thing. And also Iron Man figures as well. They display amazing by themselves because they're they're so shiny, and the light just reflects off them like spectacularly. So I get it. And having like the trio, say, of like 4, 5, and 6, from Iron Man 2, that in itself is an amazing display. I think you have it like that, Bryan, right?
I used to, yeah. So what I want to do is just kind of go through and just show like how I have it set up, and it's mostly by movie here. So on the screen, you can see I've got the Age of Ultron shelf. I've kind of deemed it the Captain America, the Mark 45, because I don't have the Mark 43 yet, that reissue, and then the Mark II War Machine. So that's like a shelf. This is an example of when you get to the point where you've got some mismatched figures. So this figure displaying here, Scarlet Spider, Ant-Man from Civil War, and Doctor Strange 1. These are the ones that I couldn't fit in with anything
that's no
else.
good.
Yeah, although I love these three figures, it's like, it's so tough that these are decisions. These are like decisions that collectors have to make here. I might be able to squeeze Ant-Man in with the shelf I'll show in a little bit that has the Mark 46 and the War Machine 3, but then that's going to be a really crowded shelf, and I want those to shine. It will make all of our Star Wars fans, collectors happy, as I have my three favorite figures here that I'm keeping: the Return of the Jedi Luke Skywalker, the Shore Trooper, and Resistance Rey. I'm actually pretty good with this shelf as is. This is like my Wakanda shelf, and it's got Black Panther from the Black Panther film, Groot, Rocket, Thor. It has temporarily my Mark IV War Machine, so it's kind of the Wakanda battlefield. And then what I'm displaying here, I'm deeming my Iron Man 3 shelf, so Iron Patriot, Mark 42, and the Mark 22 Hot Rod, which was a War Machine concept. So that's one shelf I've got. My Battle on Titan, the Mark L, my custom Tony Stark with the Super MC Toys suit, the Doctor Strange and Iron Spider. And then I've got kind of like my Secret Avengers here and this is where TC you can mix in figures. So I've got my Falcon from Civil War, works just fine with Captain America and Black Widow from Infinity War. Although they're not from the same movie, it makes sense. This is my Captain America from Civil War, so the regular version, the battling version, and then the concept art. And then I've got my Winter Soldier. So this is an extremely crowded shelf. I highly don't recommend doing this for anybody, but the 2-pack of Steve Rogers and Stealth Suit, the Golden Age. I've got Black Widow from this one, and obviously the Falcon right now. Now this is the Civil War. This is one of my favorite shelves. The Mark 46, the Mark 3, and then the concept art Mark 46. The shelf is definitely one of my favorites. Again, that kind of works. And then like my final couple shelves here. So I've got my Homecoming shelf, the Mark 47, the 2 Spider-Man figures. This is my Iron Man 1. I'll hopefully eventually be able to add the Mark 1 if they ever redo that, but the Mark 3 and the Mark 2. And then TC, you're mentioning it. So from Iron Man 2, just to make this work, I might combine these all back together. But right here, I've got the Mark 4 and the Mark 5 together. And then finally, again, one of my favorite shelves is the Mark 6 and then the Mark 1 War Machine. So I just kind of really rattled through that quickly. I don't know if it's going to be really riveting audio to listen to, but if you're on the YouTube feed, you can kind of see the different pictures I'm showing. It's just an example that you can do. I've had these all together in different things. I've had the 4, 5, and 6 together. I've had some of the War Machines together. It's all personal preference. And one of the awesome things, guys, about being a collector, they are your figures, and you can display how you want. You can pose them as much as you want to. You can just change the displays as much as you want to. It's a whole nother thing that we don't even really talk about that much on this podcast.
Bryan, I got a question for you. This is off topic. And those all look amazing, by the way. I think the trios and the duos look really sweet. What's the better trio amongst, I guess, in Hot Toys history? Is it Mark 4, 5, and 6 paired together? Or is it Spider-Man tech suit, homemade suit, and Mark 47? What's the trio you like better? Can you pick one? Because they both look amazing. I was just curious what your eyes go to first. I know you split them up.
Yeah,
right now,
so I'm displaying I'm showing on the screen here the 4 and the 5. I used to have the display base behind them with the 6 on the. It's actually one of the few stands I use. It's the landing pad that he had outside of Stark Tower in Avengers 1. And then, going back and just, this is a very valuable shelf, as a lot of people know. I mean, Man, that's a tough question. I thought you were going to tell me to like rank the Iron Man or the War Machine figures, because that's like ranking your favorite kid. It changes. I think I'm more right now probably the 4, 5, and 6 over the 47. Don't get me wrong, I love the 47. I'm sure there's people out there that would kill to have that in their collection, but given what the retail, the secondary market's going for that one. You ask me next episode, TC, I'll probably change my answer.
Yeah, just something that I thought of when I saw those pictures, because they do look really, really nice.
So, I mean, we'll definitely would love to hear from our listeners. If you're able to comment on the YouTube video after the fact, hopefully you're also able to subscribe to the channel and get all the other great content we have there with our Star Wars show, Rogue 16. Steve does an awesome job with the Assemble every other Friday, and we're able to get people from our community to talk about all this news stuff and just pop culture in general. And yeah, you can always send us an email too. I know a lot of you don't do social media or whatnot. I'm pretty sure, Chris, it's sixscalescavengers@gmail.com is our email address. You can also contact us through our website, Six Scale Scavengers. Love to hear from you about, how you display your collection, or, maybe some tips or something that some of our listeners would benefit from as well. All right. Well, TC, it looks like we may have lost our buddy Chris again. So we will carry on and see if he's able to rejoin us. But we'll trudge along, and we're going to talk about our feature figure review. I know we're already running long with this episode, but we love talking about this stuff. I'm sure people don't mind watching or listening as well.
Yeah, it's every 2 weeks, so we gotta catch up. A lot of stuff happens in 2 weeks.
All right, so, and as I mentioned earlier, the great cover art that Roy did. So we'll display this before we get to talking about the different figure photography and stuff. Found some really good shots from BJ Toy Art. As I'm stumbling over my words here, this makes for awesome podcasting here, TC. All right, so we're talking about the feature figure review, War Machine Mark IV from Avengers Infinity War, MMS 499 D26. The special edition is the one we're going to be covering. Retail price with that was $415. The original pre-order date was July 23rd, 2018, and the Hong Kong release, TC, was surprisingly July 17th, 2017. July 17th, 2019. So just shy of a year. And we talked about it. And I'd love to get Chris back on here, but he's got to restart the gerbil wheel to get his modem going.
Yep. Down in the root cellar.
We were looking initially like a February 2020 release, and this jumped up like really quick. We've speculated in the past that it could be just because of all the different War Machines that are available, that are gonna be available. I mean, at the time when this was up for pre-order, it was really surprising to see something that was going to be 16, 17, 18 months out from the original pre-order date. And then lo and behold, it's less than a year.
Yeah. And not only that, Sideshow has the regular versions in stock. So not only did they get the first batch out, they pretty much got everything out. There's some of the special editions still waiting to be shipped stateside, but yeah, the Hot Toys knocked this one out a lot quicker than a lot of people thought. So
yeah, definitely. So this was definitely something, as I talked about in the last episode, it was not necessarily budget crushing to go ahead and move this up, but I love War Machine so much that I couldn't wait until February. Now, both you and Chris have had this discussion. It's a discussion that actually popped up as we were talking about having this figure available for the review, that there's other listeners that we have out there that are also trying to decide, do they stick to the original payment plan? I mean, initially, I think I had done the max on it for this initially before I converted to a one-time payment. I don't even know if I was even supposed to start paying on this until like September or October. And, and here we are, I should say, because, English is my first language. I mean, you guys are both gonna wait. I don't know if you're gonna wait after I talk about this figure, but at least right now, that's the plan. You guys are gonna wait.
Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, so I've got them on 4 payments, and even at that, they're pretty hefty payments, but they don't start till October. They don't start till October. So early January is my last payment. Man, I'd like to probably get in at least 2 payments, and break it up a little bit there. But I got so many other figures coming too. So it's like Steve says, ripping off that Band-Aid.
That's one expensive Band-Aid.
Oh,
but
man.
I think I do want this figure a lot, but I have the Civil War version, so I don't feel the need to get it as much, just because I know what else is in the pipeline. If things are a little lighter, if I didn't order the Neon Tech 2.0, I probably would go for it early. Mm-hmm. And then I also know the Mark 7. The Mark 7's around the corner. So because of that, I don't want to stretch my budget too thin, because those are obviously very expensive. So I'm just going to hold off as long as I can. Unless Chris breaks, then I may follow suit. But in reality, I'm just probably going to end up letting it play out through at least December. I just have no choice.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I know, like you're saying, Bryan, people are struggling with that decision, and I think because it's such a cool looking figure, and just the fact that, and also like it came so early that I think it threw a lot of people off with that had payment plans, because they're like, well, it's not going to come till maybe at best end of year. But the temptation is strong to jump on that and pay it off all at once.
And I'm probably not going to do any people any favors when I start talking about this on.
Fun fact about this.
Yeah.
So I was watching Denobi 2, big time reviewer on YouTube. Sometimes he tunes in our show, and so we appreciate that. He did a review on the Mark IV for Infinity War, and he weighed the Mark IV versus the 3 versus the 1, all die cast. And if you go by kilograms, the Mark III was the lightest at 1.26 kilograms. The Mark IV was 1.28, and the Mark I was 1.31 kilograms. So Mark I's the heaviest. I don't know, for the size of the figure, like the way it's cut, the Mark IV, that might have the most die cast because it's pretty sleek, but it weighs about the same. But pretty interesting.
No, that is a good fact too, because like I think that was one thing that picking up the figure out of the box, you instantly knew that it had some heft. I think the lightest out of the 4, not surprisingly, is the Mark II from Age of Ultron. So this thing came packed with accessories. We've got it on the screen here. The alternate, the likeness to Don Cheadle, Rhodey that's there, the different gun accessories and stuff that are there. I got the special edition just because the special edition wasn't any more expensive than the regular. The Outrider base it's passable. I will not be displaying with it. I just have no intention of probably keeping it. If you get the regular version, you're not going to be missing out. Everything else is going to be the same. It is what it is. It's not an accessory that's really going to drive the price up or down that much. I mean, I guess it's a little cool. It's different than the one. It's painted differently than the one that came with Captain America movie promo figure that we've talked about previously. I think the thing that I really love about the accessories on this one in particular is the backpack, and it's all kind of you can see here on the figure the missile launchers and stuff that kind of extend out are on the figure all the time, and you can you can pop them out. And then the gun, the shoulder cannon, there's an extension that you can use so that you have it up on a shoulder, but when you're not, it actually fits in very snugly. So you have like a very, it'll probably be hard to see here, but it's not quite seamless, but you can also see that it's definitely one of the thicker ones, as you mentioned, TC, with that. So if you're on the fence about it, the special edition really isn't that special, in my opinion. But the other accessories and stuff obviously doesn't come like with the baton, like we talked about a couple episodes ago with the Mark III. I've been struggling with this because I know inevitably one of you guys was going to ask me on what I would rank the figure. And again, between the 1, the 3, and the 4, I feel like it's ranking my favorite kid. It's so tough.
You only get a pass on that with Iron Man, Bryan.
Yeah,
you gotta be bold and give a ranking.
Yeah, we'll get to that point there. So there's other photos and stuff. A lot of these were the stock from Sideshow Hot Toys website. You can kind of see everything extended. The backpack very seamless, as I was talking about there. You can see all the different arm cannons and stuff that are there. The likeness to Don Cheadle. Now we get to the big boys, and BG toy art. This looks like a movie still. I mean, this is the figure, guys. Obviously, it's heavily photoshopped with the effects, but that's what you're getting. Here's another one. Taking out the Outriders. You can see the backpack accessory fully extended. And another look of just wrecking shop here. As War Machine. One thing that I did, and this is from Justin's collection. This is on his Instagram page, and I stink at photography. And even though I own these 4 figures, the fact I wouldn't even be able to do anything better than this. So I figured, all right, we'll give a shameless plug here and show something that obviously I wouldn't be able to recreate myself. So obviously, for those of you that are listening to the audio only, in the foreground is the Mark IV. Flanked on the left by the Mark I, and then the Mark III, and then the redheaded stepchild is basically the Mark II in the back, just trying to wave his hand so he can pretend like he's part of the group photo here. Part of Justin's comparison review, he did say that essentially the Mark IV is a conglomerate of the 1 and the 3, and having all these in hand, you can almost see it where I feel like the collar armor is more similar to the 1. Obviously, the chest plate and stuff is more similar to the 3. The leg shares a lot of similarities with the 3 as well, and I think the helmet is exactly the same between the 3 and the 4. Surprisingly, that being said, I am going to cheat a little bit here, TC, and if I could take the upper body, the torso, and from the torso up of the Mark IV, and then combine that with a lower body of the Mark III, that would be the perfect Iron Man figure.
Yeah.
That being said, I will also see it doesn't really show well in some of the photographs and stuff, but I thought the digital. I'm trying to find one of the better shots here. I thought the digital camo would look really cheesy. But in hand, it actually looks really cool.
Do any of you know the printing technique on how they even achieved that? Because it looks amazing.
I would assume unicorns.
Makes sense.
I mean, you never know with Hot Toys; they keep stuff so secretive. I'm sure it's. To be able to mass produce that to that level with that subtle camo, they've got to have some serious digital printers. I mean, I just don't know. Hopefully maybe someone in the group knows more about 3D printing and all that goes into it. Yeah.
And everything that goes into producing these things. We don't have much insight, but it seems like it's next level versus just a standard paint job that is on the Mark III. And as great as the Mark III is, this is a distinguishing feature, and it makes it unique, and it makes it worthy to a lot of people's collections.
I mean, I don't even really have many complaints about this. I haven't given it the full pose treatment because I've just been super busy, with work and stuff. I definitely unboxed it and got it displayed, and I didn't even really put on many of the accessories. A couple of the little nitpicky things I've seen some other reviewers and stuff. TC, the shoulders went back to the spring loaded, so when you pop it up, it'll spring back. Something to be careful of when you're posing, that you don't want it to come back so hard and snap and scratch the shoulder pads. The other thing is people have noted that there's a lack of the lights in the legs, and I don't know if that was just a short, where they shortchanged the figure at all. But I haven't personally lit the figure up. Actually, even the photo we're showing here with the magic of Photoshop, Roy was able to make it look like the eyes were lit up in the photograph. Peel back the Wizard of Oz curtain there a little bit, but I mean, I love the figure. I love the character of War Machine. And I also am trying to think of like our listeners, if they've missed all the prior War Machines, and unless you really love War Machine, I wouldn't recommend going out and getting the Mark II and the Mark I and the 3. Although I have noticed the market for the Mark III has kind of softened a little bit. It's still a figure that you're paying twice retail for. And although TCU and I ranked it a 5 overall, I feel like this is not even a great compromise, because I feel like if you don't have any of these War Machines, I would feel completely confident recommending to a listener, to a friend, to either of you guys, if you didn't have a War Machine, like this is the one to get. I think there's enough there that you could feel confident knowing, like, and we're basing this without even having the Mark VI in hand or the Iron Patriot 2.0. There's just enough there to like that you could feel really confident knowing like this is the one you need. It could be maybe the only War Machine you need in your collection.
That's some good words there, I'm sure, for a lot of our listeners, just because some of those figures are so expensive that I think a lot of people still need to fill that War Machine hole in their collections. And earlier this year I had felt that, and I really wanted a War Machine, so I went with the cheaper option with the Mark II from Iron Man 3, and I'm already not I'm not feeling that figure anymore after seeing these images in person. So likely that figure is probably going to hit the market before our next recording, just because I've already got the Mark V on pre-order, and I'm planning on eventually ordering the Iron Patriot 2.0. So I don't know. It's one of those things. It was kind of an impulse thing. I kind of caved to wanting that figure in my collection, and somebody's probably going to get a pretty good deal on it. Yeah.
If you were choosing between this Infinity War version and the standard one from Endgame, I actually think it's the Mark VI. I think the Mark V is Iron Patriot. But if you're going for this or the Mark VI, I would not wait for the Mark VI. This is the one to get. The Mark VI it seems like it's I don't know. It's a little bit bulkier than Mark II, but it's nothing to me. It's nothing special. It didn't do anything in the movie. I know that's not important to a lot of people, but it is important to some. Didn't do anything. This is looking pretty BA.
Well, he did knock out Star-Lord. He did have that.
And he dissed Ant-Man when he flew down from I don't know where into the base. Just
what's up, tiny guy?
Yeah, regular sized man.
Yeah.
So he did that, and then he got destroyed when everything knocked down the Avengers base. Mm-hmm. But I would go with this one. It's got the bulk. It's got some traditional War Machine pieces to it, but at the same time, it's it's from Infinity War, and Infinity War is an epic movie, and you can't go wrong with it.
All right, let's. It's time to rate this, and I've been not necessarily struggling with it, but I've been trying to think of not necessarily to even be consistent. I can't find many faults with the figure, and TC, it's so similar to the Mark III. I mean, let me put it this way: it's not the perfect figure, but I think for what you're getting, and it's the War Machine. I know we haven't really decided on what we're rating this on. I'll just go with Outrider basis because that's all we really interesting that has to go with this on it. I got to give it 5 out of 5. I mean, if you and I are going to rate the Mark III as a 5, I have no qualms about rating this exactly the same. And like I said, it's not perfect, but it could be the perfect War Machine for somebody just starting their collection, or they want a War Machine in their collection.
Oh man, you're gonna switch it over, TC? You're gonna switch over your opinion?
No, I don't know, but I will say this. So everyone loves Iron Man figures, but the elephant in the room is that they're hot rod red. Some of the fists over time, they can fade. They're amazing. We haven't seen any issues with the diecast figures, but this one, being that it's a black, a charcoal, digital camo, it's not going to have any problems. It's going to last for like years, a decade. It's not going to fade because it's black almost. So it's just it's going to hold. It's going to hold its value. It's going to hold its original look for a very long time. And Hot Toys, they always give extra care into these figures, and it shows. So yeah, I agree, Brian. Even though I don't have it in hand, that's a fine rating. I'm fine with that.
I mean, to kind of, I know we're running long here, but I don't think anyone's really going to mind. I think maybe another question we can think for another time too is, I know you said what's the better trio of those shelves. It's not necessarily blasphemous to say take the War Machine 1, 3, and 4 and put them up against like 3 or 4 of the best Iron Man figures, because the engineering, I would argue, might be even a little bit better on the War Machine. But I mean, there's a bunch. I think there's more definitive ones on the Iron Man side, because you've got the 46 and the 47. You've got the 5 and the 6, I think are also phenomenal. I think the 4 is just there. I probably don't like the Mark L as much as some do, but I think it's still a must-have for an Infinity War collection. And then a lot of the other ones, like the 42, is just kind of in the 3 and whatnot. But I mean, you could make a decent argument for the War Machines versus Iron Man.
Yeah, they're complete. They're complete releases. So the Mark 1 has all the battle damage. It has the swivel shoulder pads. Everything, the leg joints are sturdy. The paint's amazing. It's got the battle damage face mask. It's interchangeable. The Mark III, clean look. And it's a simple look, but it's almost a perfect figure. And then the Mark IV, it's just an extension of the 3. So yeah, I could completely understand that argument.
Another topic for another day. And speaking of another day, I think we got to get to plug time here, guys. So TC, I wanted to throw it over to you quickly before I kind of go through my normal spiel here.
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to Collecting Weekly. They have great podcasts. They release one probably once a week, and Zach, Dean are great co-hosts, and they have a new show, Small Talk, and it's worth tuning into. They cover more than just Hot Toys. They cover all topics in collecting figures. So give them a listen. They're very entertaining.
I agree.
Absolutely. I agree. Yeah, definitely.
So I just want to do a quick shout out to one of our listeners, Ian CB. He came through and hooked me up with a new art box and shipper and some other things for the advanced suit Spider-Man, because we discussed about the damage to my other one. So just want to say thanks to him. That was very generous of him to do so. So thanks, Ian. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we've got a great community, no doubt about that. All right, so we've got our website, sixsealscavengers.com. We have our YouTube channel, which hopefully you might be checking out. There's other great content we have with Rogue One 6 and Scavengers Assemble. Very different formats from this, but all great content. And, you know, just as a content creator and consumer, I mean, we do this because we love it. We're not making money off this. We hope to cover some of our hosting costs on the podcast feed side, where we have our TeePublic store, where a small portion of any t-shirt sales go to cover that. We have our checklists on sixsealscavengers.com, Marvel, Star Wars, Asmus, Lord of the Rings, and The Hobbit. Again, if you go through eBay and you make a purchase there, we get a small portion of that as well. Any little bit helps. We certainly appreciate it. And we love displaying and sharing on social media any of our listeners or whatnot that pick up any of our cool little swag shirts here. I think we all have a Six Seal Scavengers charcoal shirt on tonight. Wasn't planned. We didn't call each other up and make sure that's what we we're wearing tonight. But we've got our Facebook page. We're on Instagram. We have our private group. And if you're interested in that, make sure you go through and answer the questions. We have, if you want to find the podcast feed, we're on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher, and sixsealscavengers.libsyn.com. Whew. All right, TC. Chris has been in and out tonight, and I feel kind of bad without. It's been
I don't even want to do it.
28 episodes. It's
Yay,
been there
back.
we go. It's been 28 episodes of a sign off from Chris in some capacity, and thankfully, come to save the day, the gerbil.
Gee, man.
The gerbil wheel kicks back in. The router's working. Chris, bring us home, my friend.
Excelsior.